A very good afternoon, beautiful people. Welcome along to Matchday Live, where we are at the Etihad Stadium for our first home game of the season. Today's opponents are Bournemouth. And to join me as we build up to this epic game, next to me is Shaun Wright-Phillips and Joleon Lescott. Now, before we speak to the gents, let's get right into it. Here is our starting 11. So, in net, of course, it is Ederson. At the back, we have Kyle Walker, Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake and João Cancelo. A middle three, the exact same that started against West Ham. Rodrigo, Kevin De Bruyne and, of course, Ilkay Gundogan. The one change from that game against West Ham is Riyad Mahrez comes into the team. Up front, of course, the main man, Erling Haaland. And over on the left-hand side, we think Phil Foden. You can see our bench there as well. Let's get the thoughts then from our friends in the studio. Joleon, we'll come straight to you. The first change, of course, from West Ham is Riyad Mahrez in for Jack Grealish. What do you think you're thinking is there?
I think he expects to have more possession higher up the pitch in regard to their final third. And if we're being honest, regardless of everyone in the squad, I believe Riyad Mahrez is the best at 1v1.
Yeah.
So when you've the final third and you're spending long periods in there, you probably want someone with that capability. So I don't think it's anything against Jack Grealish's performance, because I think he was outstanding.
Yeah.
So probably just that reason.
And Shaun, I mean, bar the Riyad Mahrez change, are you surprised that we haven't seen a few more changes? Because we do know that Pep obviously we can always throw a few surprises in, but that consistency seems to have kind of kept on from that game. Are you surprised by that?
No, I wouldn't say I'm surprised as much. I think early in the season, I think especially with them getting up to game speed and match fitness, I think to keep the same team hasn't really caught me as a surprise, because as we know, their pre-season, I think we only played 2 games. So they need to get that 90 minutes under their belt. So it won't really start changing it and chopping it around until, I think, 2-3 games in.
How impressed were you with City's performance? Because there was a lot of talk, Joleon, when, you know, in pre-season and particularly with the Community Shield game, that were City kind of at their rhythm, but it felt for me that they didn't have to get out of second gear. Were you impressed by that performance against West Ham?
Yeah, definitely. Like I was there pre-season, so I've seen them games, and I was surprised by the intensity and the long spells that showed the rhythm that they have, considering it was condensed. The Charity Shield was what it was, but in regards to the West Ham game, they made it look a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yes.
I thought it was going to be a tougher game. Yeah, 2-0 isn't like super convincing, but in regards to the performance, it was dominant.
Who was a standout performance for you in that game, Shaun?
You know, I thought Rodri was outstanding, but I liked the parts that Gundogan played in that game. There was a few times where he can actually see Haaland's runs, and he tried to play a lot of the passes, and it was nice. Of course, KDB's going to see them, because what doesn't he see, sort of thing. But it just seemed like Gundogan and Haaland were on the same wavelength, and it coming from the Community Shield, where City were keeping the ball, Haaland was making the runs, and they wasn't really trying to going into obviously the West Ham game to see him making those runs from. Yeah. The amount of crosses that went in and the amount of through balls they put through was fantastic.
John Stones is on the bench. As we know, Aymeric Laporte is still out with an injury. I think he had a little operation at the end of in the summer. Nathan Ake, Joleon, what were you making of him?
Just a solid player, a top performer. Again, seen in pre-season, and he was probably the standout one that looked closest to where you expect them all to be.
Yeah.
Diaz was missed games, obviously missed minutes in pre-season, but even watching training, I could see, like, if he'd trained over the summer, I don't know, but he'd come back closest to his best. Yeah. And all the other lads were getting there. So it's no surprise that he plays. He brings a balance. I think that is probably a thing as well, naturally left-footed.
Yes.
Having no one else in the team, well, obviously Haaland and Riyad now, but in regards to the West Ham game, yeah, there's probably an element of that as in there as well.
Have you ever, Joleon, because obviously we're aware Aymeric Laporte was one of the standout players in last season, and you know, when you are in a starting 11 but you're aware that maybe the first choice is coming back in, how does that sit with you as a player? I mean, I think it's got to be a bit of a...
Yeah, it's different. I think it's different now in regards to the way Pep does it, because I think he picks a team to beat the opposition, so it doesn't matter how you performed. Where when me and Shaun started playing, you played based on your previous performance, and that is how you stayed in the team. Where that's what I found it hard. When rotation started to come into play, I found that hard to understand that it doesn't matter how I play last week, the manager's going to pick the team to win this week. And like I said, it was just hard for me to understand. But now I think these players are used to rotation, regardless of who it is, when it may be. It's just the manager's picking a team to beat the team we're playing against.
Very interesting. That when do you feel that rotation started coming in, Shaun? Like kind of that.
I'd say when Mourinho came to Premier
for
League,
you,
I would
yeah.
say.
Really, yeah.
For me, yeah. Because that's what Chelsea was, basically,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Just
You had
rotating.
a big squad, though.
Yeah, massive squad.
Probably that was the first squad I remember seeing. Everyone's the same. Like
Yes.
the level of player is the same. You have
Yeah.
2 players for every
Every
position.
position, yeah.
I hadn't seen. You'd seen like 16, 17 players ish, but Chelsea was like, no, if we want to change our whole team,
Yes.
we could change it and be
Yeah,
strong.
yeah.
When that was kind of the situation when I came here, it was like everyone is close.
Yes,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
it was probably like in terms of my position, it was like me, Vinny, Colo, and Savage, who was top at the time. You know what I mean? So it was like Colo wasn't invincible. So anyone could play and stuff like that. So it was a case of me recognising this is what's coming into football now.
So this is not the point on today's game, but what was Colo Touré like? I've always, because I mean, when as a player and also as like that figure in the dressing room, being an invincible.
Like, he's just
smiling.
Yeah, man. That's like you could never get mad at Colo, regardless, because he just had a smile on his face the whole time. You get angry and stuff, but what a guy. What a guy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Magic. All right, well, let's bring the focus back to today's game. The opponent, obviously, that are going to be coming out there is Bournemouth. Shaun, what do you think City are going to be doing to kind of, get the 3 points today? What was the approach looking at that team?
City don't really. They just have, in a way, the same approach, retaining the ball and obviously create as many chances for Haaland. But I think it's what Bournemouth are going to do. I think Scotty may have learned from his last lesson. I think he came here with Fulham, and he opened up a little bit, and they got pummeled 5-0. I don't think he will be coming here with the view to keep the scoreline down.
Yes.
I think the problem he's going to have is if City get that early goal, does he try to get one back, or does he just stay the same, basically?
What do you think, Joleon?
I think the conditions will help Bournemouth. I think they'll help them stay deeper.
Yes.
You can't be going pressing in this, regardless of who you're playing against. It's going to be difficult. Like even City, I know they will, but if this was a tougher opponent, I don't think they would, because the conditions are so intense.
Yes, yeah.
So that will help them. But like Shaun said, knowing Scott, he learns as a student of the game, so I'm sure he's going to adapt it a little bit. But I'm thinking this is going to be a totally different game to last week for Haaland, because the space, I don't think the space will be there for him to run, which he showed he wants to when he's winning runner. So there's going to be long periods where he may not get the ball because it will be so compact. So that'll be a test, because players can get bored.
Yeah.
Top players can get bored when they haven't got a touch and they want to get involved. So he's going to have to find a way to.
How would he adapt his game then? If he can't have the runs in behind,
he's just going to have to be patient and be selective and just continue to make the runs. He's going to have to be more like a Sergio mindset of like, I'm not interested in what he's doing in midfield. I know it's going to come, but I'm going to make my runs. And he just, as a striker, I'm sure he just wants to see the attempted passes. He's not thinking you have to get the ball to me every time, but I'm sure he's thinking, well, if I'm making 2 runs,
at least try.
Yeah, the third one needs to be an attempt.
Yes.
Then I'll make 2 more, again, an attempt. So I know forwards think that and think, well, I'll continue to do it as long as you're trying to get me the ball. Yeah. So I'm sure that's what he expects.
Shaun, I mean, he's some specimen, isn't he?
I just want to stand beside him.
Shaun could barely stand beside his kids, though, Shaun. So.
I mean, if you were coming up against him, as a defender...
No, he's big. He's real big. So, like, it's an intimidating frame, considering, like, he's 22.
Yeah.
So 22. So he's naturally going to get bigger because he's going to grow into his body a little bit more. But, yeah, he moves well. So, obviously, his mum's an athlete. His dad's played football. Like we were saying earlier, if you could create a player, that's... what you create.
Well, we've seen it as well, actually, just as when we were coming into the studio. His dad is here today with his mum. I think they sat round in a little box behind there, so we might be able to spot them out in a little bit. Just a final word on the City team. I did want to mention Ilkay Gundogan, because I think, we've not announced yet the captain, because that gets done at the end of the summer, but he did come out wearing the captain's armband, and obviously he's kept his place again. He's always been had a very heavy presence, but has been a bit in and out, but it feels that he seems now to be cementing. He's a key cog in this Guardiola team, Shaun.
Is there any key cogs in the team? If you know what I mean, the way Pep does things, you're always a movable object. So he's always going to rotate. It's just some players stay in the rotation longer than others. I think what he's done when he's come on, He's third man runs. He's great at running off the ball. He creates and he keeps the ball well. And I think it helps balance out the midfield, and it also, I think, it gives KDB a bit more space.
Yes.
Because he doesn't go in the same pockets really as Kevin.
And I'm just checking the old Bournemouth team here, which we'll be bringing you in just a second. Kevin De Bruyne must be licking his lips at what could be ahead for him this season. You know, we're talking about assists. Do we think that he could maybe eclipse, a David Silva and maybe become our all-time leading assist maker?
Yeah, it's scary to suggest that so early. But yeah, I remember watching him a few years ago when it was Raheem and Sergio, and it was like he just puts balls into areas where forwards think the ball's going to be. Yeah. So he puts it in where you should be, and players make runs where their ball is going to come. So I'm sure Haaland's going to do that continuously, make the runs, and there's no better in football, is there, to find you.
Just before we look at the Bournemouth team, their prospects for the season, what do we think? It's tough.
Survival. There's got to be survival. I just don't think it can be any more than that.
It's one of these, though, isn't it? Like, at the minute, if you say it, you would say they're going to stay up because off their last game, they played better than the rest. But I think, like you said, because it's a long season, those teams around them are going to get better as well.
Out of the teams that came up, I think they're in the middle. I think Fulham are the strongest. I've said this before last week's result. I think they're the strongest out. I think Forest are the weakest, the most prominent to go down. That's what I believe. And I think Bournemouth are just on the edge. I think they're like a Brentford.
Okay.
I think they could finish above Brentford and then Brentford potentially go down.
Brentford go down. Be interesting. Right, well, let's bring you the Bournemouth team then. So this is what Scott Parker has chosen to take on Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium. It's a 3 p.m. kickoff. Thank you so much for joining us, by the way, if you've just tuned in. Here we are. This is the Bournemouth team then that we are facing today. It looks like this. Travers in goal. It is a back four of Cook, Kelly, who captains the side, Mepham and Lerma. Then we've got Christie, Smith, Tavernier, Stacey, Moore and Pearson. As we look to the bench, Neto, Lau, Stanislas, Sariki, I think, apologies on the pronunciation, Hill, Sensi, Billing and Anthony. We've just spoke about the prospects there. There's the team, Joleon. How do they even approach coming against the City team that is this?
Again, just understand that more than likely there's going to be a period where you're going to be under pressure and you could be behind, so it's then just managing that, because that is what newly promoted teams find it hard to adjust to, is you're going to be behind more than you're ahead.
Yes.
That hasn't been the case for all last season, so that's going to be a first, and it's understanding how to manage that. Like Shaun said, if City get an early goal, you don't try and score in the first half. No. You're patient and stay in the game, 70, 80 minutes, then we try and find something or create something, because you could end up 5-0 down and then 2-0 to 4-5-0. Morale is different, so you just don't want that to happen. So you got to respect that you're not going to survive on beating Man City at home.
Yes,
there's bigger games.
Yes.
So just understand that occasion. If you get a result, great, but don't go chasing it too early.
Are there any the players then that you think if they are in that 1-0 stage, and fingers crossed, we're hoping it'll be 5-0 at this point, but if it was 1-0, where are their kind of threats going to come from, do you think, Shaun, from Bournemouth?
The wide areas, I'd say, from the wingers with the crosses and taking players on, but like Joleon said, that the chances are they're not going to have a lot of the ball, and especially they'll have the odd counter-attack. I think that's the only way they're going to be able to play against City, especially in this weather today, is spring a counter-attack. But even then, if you do that and City win the ball back, you're leaving massive spaces for people like Kevin De Bruyne to destroy you.
Yes,
and that's what he's waiting for, those little gaps.
Yeah, and then absolutely exploit that.
And now, if the game becomes stretched, they've got Haaland to run in behind.
Yeah.
So before, it wasn't the case of the game becomes stretched, but there was limited options in terms of running in behind consistently, where now that's not the case. If it comes stretched like we seen last week for the second goal, 3 passes and you're in behind and it's done. There's no recovery, so you need to be more cautious in your approach now.
What do you make of kind of Scott Parker's kind of Bournemouth team as a whole, Joleon?
No, I'm impressed by him as a manager, to be fair.
Really,
Again, playing with him, knowing him, he seems like a manager I would want to play for. He seems honest. He seems clear with his instructions. Whether they're successful in this league, who knows? But he just seemed like he's someone that, if you give 100%, he'll be honest with you and treat you fairly, which is all I wanted as a player.
Yeah, and can you underestimate actually the job he has done to get Bournemouth back into the Premier League, Shaun?
You can never underestimate. I think Joel's played down there. I've played in that league. It's a tough league.
Yeah, man.
And he got the players doing what he needed week in, week out, and
Twice,
and he's got his rewards.
Yeah.
And hopefully for him, just not today, but hopefully he keeps them up.
I mean, because he was at Fulham as well. Do you think it was he kind of didn't get the full chance really there?
It's learning, it's his first job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's his first job, and obviously different when you're in the Premier League and you're having success in the Championship. But I honestly believed if he would have stayed at Fulham, I wouldn't have been surprised if Newcastle came in for him at the time.
Interesting.
I don't think he can make the switch so early after going to Bournemouth and then doing it again, because then it would have been seen regarded differently. But I'm thinking if he was at Fulham and Newcastle are now trying to make that transition, I could see him definitely managing that. Yeah. Or Spurs, like he managing at the top is not surprising.
Yes.
Wouldn't be surprising to me.
How far off do you think he is from that? How many more would you say?
No, I don't think his timing for the other teams and Bournemouth, like if they keep them in the league, that's a huge achievement. You know what I mean? So you can't underestimate that. But in regards to him managing the top, like if you're saying Spurs, it's not going to be soon because Conte's gone in there and they look like they're on the right trajectory. So you don't know, but it just wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Gents, all right, well, listen, we're going to take a slight pause here because knocking around the stadium and down Pitchside as well, we've, of course, got Elz, who's with us, so we're going to hand down now to Alistair Mann down Pitchside.
So here we are at Pitchside, ready to go, well, almost ready to go, and I'm delighted that alongside me, as he was for that unforgettable Aston Villa game, well, what was it, 83 days ago, Shaun Goater. Shaun, I tell you what, baking hot. It's going to be really testing, isn't it, for the players out there?
Well, it really is, and that was the one thing I was thinking about coming in is the weather and how it will affect the game. The good thing is because we dominate the ball, it's still going to be difficult for us, but because we control the ball, we make it as difficult as long as we can keep it. So I think it's about keeping the ball for long periods and having them run around chasing us will be the game plan.
How big a difference is it to be the team in possession than out of it on days like this?
Well, on a day like this, an open game, I would imagine that he'd really come and play a low block. And a low block because it will save legs. Because if you have an open game and you're chasing shadows, it becomes really difficult. So I just feel that for them, it'd probably be a best tactic to have a low block, to have that energy to perhaps counter-attack. But we'll wait and see.
Well, City made one change from last week with Riyad Mahrez in for Jack Grealish. So because there's a week's gap between games, were you expecting just a small alteration rather than anything major?
Well, the team have played so well. Whoever comes in, it's just quality. So when we look at City and the players come in, the interesting thing for me is I think today will be a day of utilising the subs because a very warm day. It's got to be somewhere near 34, 35, I would imagine, Pitchside, and it's just getting warmer. So, again, I think it's about utilising these subs on a day like this, one, to avoid injuries, but also to keep the levels and the tempo to the levels that Pep's normally used to.
Probably worth bearing in mind that there is a drinks break midway through the first half and midway through the second. Just a quick word on last week's performance. I mean, Pep has said a few times that the team aren't quite at the maximum yet. How impressed were you with what you saw at West Ham?
Well, I was really impressed the way the players moved the ball. Again, it looks as though. Don't worry,
we might get a dousing.
Open our body up a bit here. The way some of the combinations, even early on, was seeing Kevin De Bruyne sliding Haaland and get him off the mark. So again, we're looking at these different combinations today with Mahrez on. I will put down that he would score an header because Mahrez crosses the sweetest balls when he comes on that left foot. So I would imagine him getting on the end of one or two of those opportunities and putting it away. So I'm looking forward to that.
Just one final thing. I've got to ask you, as someone who scored 100 goals for this club, I know he's only got 2 at the moment, but from what you've seen of him, obviously in pre-season as well, what do you think? I mean, what is your gut feeling, striker to striker?
Well, it's just how long before he gets to the 100 club. Because, I mean, he's a phenomenal striker. His record speaks for itself. I'm glad and really pleased because when you move to a club, the first thing you want to do as a centre forward is you want to get off the mark. He's done that. He'll be able to exhale. He'll know there's still parts of his game that Pep will want him to improve, that he'll want to improve. And at each game he plays, the minutes he plays, the understanding with the midfielders will get better and better, and they'll all be looking to slide him in, and he'll be getting on the end of a lot of opportunities.
Well, me and Shaun, as ever, will be bringing you the commentary ball by ball, moment by moment. So do make sure you download us on the app. If you can just picture us at the moment, short sleeve shirt, goats in the shorts. Remember this in December when we're huddled up with scarves and hats. But from a boiling hot Etihad, it's going to be a great afternoon.
So that was Alistair Mann and Shaun Goat there, who have got your commentary for today's game. If you want to tune into that, remember as well, the City app or City Plus will be the place. City Plus will have the full game on at full time. They'll get full highlights on there. Now, Elz is around the stadium somewhere, so don't worry. We'll be getting to Elz in just a little bit. And if you've just tuned in, welcome along to Matchday Live. Shaun, Wright-Phillips, Joleon, Lescott and myself, Cel Spellman. If you want to get involved with the show, which of course we implore you to do, this show is for you. You can send us a little WhatsApp. There'll be a little number there on the screen. If you get in touch, maybe you've got a burning question for Joleon or Shaun, or maybe you want to pass a comment on the team or what you've seen so far in the season, just let us know and I'll be getting to them in just a little bit. Now, before we just move on to Team of the Decade, we mentioned him before, Nathan Ake coming up against his old club. First of all, did either of you ever have experiences when you, I mean, Shaun, when you were at Chelsea coming up against City, how is it? How is it when you come back to face a former club?
It's almost like a weird feeling. I love City, so I want to do well. I was more about, I score a goal, we lose. I'm happy, sort of thing. But no, it's always a strange feeling coming back home because once you're sold, you always want to perform to the reasons as to why they sold you. Otherwise, it looks like they sold you, and the reason they sold you. So there was always that side of it. But yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and also, you know, I mean, can it be underestimated that, I mean, Nathan Ake was club captain at Bournemouth, you know, so you know he was a big part of kind of their team when they were doing so well.
It was huge for them, and he obviously helped them stay in the league for a number of seasons and perform well enough to warrant this move. So them things are part of football. Players understand the emotional side of it, but they're professional at the end of the day. As much as he has a fun bond and memories of Bournemouth, he's not going to be wishing they do well today. Yes. Like, I remember my first time was when we went to Wolves in the 2012 season, and we had to win to go top of the league after United had just drew to Everton at home. So we literally found that out on the coach. We're going on the way to the game. But if we win, we're top of the league. But Wolves go down. So but I'm thinking we need to win. So and my mentor, who was caretaker manager, so my coaching mentor was like the manager of the team that I'm going to send down. But we have to win the league. We're trying to win the league, so you have to get on with it.
Yeah, we've been interesting. I mean, actually, the QPR game as well. I mean, that really even how was that?
We're still talking about that.
I know.
Let it go.
I'm just glad that Nathan was on the pitch. I mean, he says that he didn't mean, I'm sure he did that slip on purpose there. He let him go through, didn't it? But that must have been a funny one, Shaun, innit? You know.
So, like Joleon said, though, you come here being professional. We came here with the view to beat Man City. And at some stages of the game, that's how it was set up to be. And then this whole space of, 5 minutes? It changed. And it worked out good for both teams, so it worked out perfectly.
Right. Well, listen, we put a task to the gents here in the studio. We asked them to pick their team of the decade. So that's looking back at the last 10 years. And by the way, there is a brilliant book on this, actually. If you go onto the Manchester City website, the last 10 seasons is kind of a beautiful piece around the players, key moments, great pictures in there, well worth checking out. But we asked these guys here to choose their team of the decade. So who wants to go first? So should we go with, we'll go with yourself, Joleon, okay? So here's Joleon's team.
Yeah, so in goal, I went for Ederson. And it was hard to not pick Joe Hart, like really hard. But I just think because of the style now, I went with Ederson. Because I've gone for Pep as my manager.
Yes.
So we're like managers, no one told me.
No one told me. Wow. I've just added that. To be fair, I just thought that was my justification for not picking Harty. That's why. So So I'm blaming Pep for not picking Haie.
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
So then I would go right back was Kyle.
It was.
Again, it was hard not to pick Zabel or Micah, to be honest. And then Vinny, John Stones, Gael Clichy.
Yes.
In midfield, I went Fernandinho, Yaya, who was my captain, and double points, and KDB, and then up front I went Raheem, David Silva, and Sergio.
Okay, so didn't want to put yourself in there.
Nah, I didn't want to be biased. I'll let you do that.
I put you in there. Of course, John Stones, you know, and like, I mean, you look at this, maybe, you know, Ruben Diaz possibly, and I think, you went Diaz, Shaun, I think, possibly, if I look at your team. So, why Stones for you?
Because Ruben's been exceptional, and he's done it. And if he continues to do what he's done, he's going to rival Vinny. He's not like just going to rival John Stones, but I just think the longevity of what John Stones has done. And also, when Ruben's first season, like, it was Ruben and Laporte, and that amazing run didn't happen until John Stones come back in the team.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, people forget that. People forget that the 20-game unbeaten run that we went on, Stones, he came back into the team, so I think it was given to Ruben because he was new and it was seen as that, but I'm a big fan of John Stones.
Yeah, and you can't. And I think as well, when you actually see the way that Pep plays, he was one of his first signings as well. I think actually, you know, and how. It's an obvious question, this, but how difficult is it to be a ball-playing centre half? You know, I think there was a great quote when, you know, Pep says that John Stones, as you know, he has courage. Do you know what I mean? He's not afraid to make that mistake.
But I think that helps when the manager believes and wants that, and you know, if you get it wrong, you're not going to be to blame. So, like, I think we've played with managers that say that, and when it goes wrong, that was you. That's what you don't want as a player.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, if a manager's telling me to do something and I'll do it, and it doesn't go to plan all the time, but it's okay, then I'll continue to do it, and it gives you confidence to do it more, and then when you get confidence, you execute better.
Yeah. There was a great quote actually in the Manchester City doc that's out at the moment, Together Champions Again. That's on City Plus. I think we're on episode 3. It's so great. But I think Pep talks about going, I don't mind you making mistakes, but I want you to want the ball and try and play the pass.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
I've never heard
I
that.
never
But I wish
experienced
I did.
Yeah, that would have been nice to hear that.
Yeah, I
Would it
wish I
really?
did.
Yeah,
What? I've been balling out here.
Yeah, but there's the line going, you can't be making mistakes.
No, I'm not trying to dribble in my 6-yard box, but like,
It's confidence.
yeah,
It's
man,
free.
just
It's
that
kind
there.
of free,
Yeah, just that knowing that I can try and fed balls, because players that we played with wanted the ball in these areas, but I'm thinking if I give it away, you're not gonna get blamed. Like, I'm at the team, so let me just go along.
Final word on your team, Sterling. Now I think we've been blessed with some amazing wingers and wide players, you know, and even if we're thinking of a Samir Nasri maybe or possibly.
Yeah, now there's players that could be in there, 100%.
But you're thinking behind
Raheem,
Sterling?
yeah. From what he came and done and contributed, like was average 20 goals a season. That's a tough thing. Yeah. So
and I think the best thing we can say about Sterling is we probably all want him to do really well at Chelsea.
That's
I'm
the
excited
thing,
to
I
see
think
it.
he's loved, and I think, like, when you think about it, when it's all said and done, at the end of his probably career, he will be regarded as one of the greats.
Yes,
and he should be.
I concur. All right, Shaun. Let's then look at your team of the decade. We begin, of course, in net. You went for
Ederson.
Your back four was
Walker, Diaz, Company, and Cancelo.
Yeah. Then into your middle 3, it was the same as Joleon.
Yeah, Further, Yaya, and KDB.
And also the same
Front
forward 3.
three
Yeah,
as well,
same
yeah.
forward 3 as well. You've gone then for Diaz alongside Company and Cancelo there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but I had the same. When I was picking the team, I wasn't. At first, I was picking it on longevity. But then I just kind of scrapped that idea and said, no, I'm going to put in it who I want to put in, to be honest with you. But yeah, because that I think was the toughest part of picking that team for me, was working out, should he play because he's been there 10 years or this person's been there 3 years. But if you're saying, I just put it down to these players are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And even the ones that didn't get in there are still phenomenal. So
You could equally pick another team to combat that team. Rival that team.
Yeah,
So,
in a very strong way. So it was a hard decision, but I just kind of picked the players I enjoyed watching.
Then you've both gone for the same middle 3. I mean, if they were all, if they were in an alternate universe to play together, Fernandinho, Yaya Toure, and Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, the Premier League's over.
Yaya Toure, mate.
Yeah, he doesn't get
Prime
enough credit
Yaya.
for me, bro.
Prime
He doesn't
Yaya
get
is
enough
a problem,
praise.
a real problem.
yeah.
Especially now, say you've got someone that's stretching in behind, and he just have more space.
He could do anything he literally wanted.
Yeah, he was up to no good.
I remember, I think, Joleon, you said on one of the shows, I think last season, being like, when Yaya did turn up...
When he played well,
Yeah.
he never got man of the match and you didn't win. Like, you never come off saying Yaya was unreal today and we lost or we drew.
Yeah.
Nah, that's the only player I can say that about. The only player. I'm saying, like,
his first game though. His first game in his recovery run.
Nah, there's a few games like that.
Yeah.
There was more than one. There was more than a few games where you questioned his recovery.
run. By the time Yaya got back, we was on the way attacking again.
Yeah. He's getting up again. He's involved in the attack. No, this is the counter attack. This is the transition, Yaya. We've already defended that.
Would you ever pull him up on it?
Yeah, we used to laugh a bit. Yeah, we laugh
not
about
like
it.
saying Yaya do that because, like I said, when he did that thing, that Yaya thing that only he could do.
Yeah.
It was done.
It's frightening. There's that amazing graphic in there, I think it was the winning seed. Yeah, the stats there. That, I mean, how he didn't get player of the year.
How he didn't win Ballon d'Or. I
agree.
Like, he didn't. I don't even know if he was in Team of the Year.
Yeah.
But he was mad to see.
Do you know, on that, and you know, when we say this, and we sat here as City fans, right? But Bernardo's been talking about it as well. There is a weird thing when you look at the teams and the players that we have had over the last 10 years, and you look at what we've done. Why isn't it that these players aren't? Is it just a City thing? I don't know. I kind of can't.
Because a lot of the players don't want to speak. Like David Silva I think he only got him like one
Team
or
of the
two
Year,
Team of the
Aguero,
Year.
Aguero, like.
Yeah, but then players weren't talking enough to warrant that people just noticed them. You know what I mean? It's just different. So like we spoke off air, like Kevin De Bruyne won Player of the Year, but to us, Bernardo Silva was our Player of the Season.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's different. So the perception of players is different to the general public, and the teams that you're mentioning, their fans are just wild with their voting. If it's a vote, they're voting goals. I'm saying that shouldn't even be a contender. They're winning player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Goal of the month.
And then final word, we're on your front three as well, Shaun. I mean, obviously, would you put yourself in there? Would it maybe at some point?
Shaun could be in there.
Shaun.
Yeah. I would.
If it was an all-time City team,
they don't have to
because he wasn't the last 10 years.
The strikers don't defend as much as I used to have to defend.
Yeah. Shaun was
I would
a
have had
problem.
so much energy, bro. I would have enjoyed it, but yeah, I'd maybe put myself on the bench.
Okay, fair enough. Well, how do you think you'd have gotten in this City team, Shaun? Would you have loved to?
I would have loved every minute of it. Passing. The one thing like I learned quickly when like Al Berkovic got involved and Ali Benarbia is that I didn't have to dribble that much. Just give them the ball, and they'll find me on the next run.
Yeah.
And perfect. I prefer to run without the ball. I only dribble because I had to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, getting in the box and just running is perfect because I was quicker than a lot of people anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So running without the ball, I'm only going to get to that destination quicker.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to have seen you in a Pep team, Shaun. Absolutely. And you, Joleon, as well, of course. Would have been
nice.
Welcome to Matchday Live. If you've just tuned in, my name is Cel Spellman, Joleon, Lescott and Shaun Wright-Phillips in the studio. The boys are out on the pitch warming up because we've got our first home game of the season. There's a beautiful energy and atmosphere around the ground as well. We have had a revamp in the South Stand as well, which is very, very exciting. So it's all fresh, it's all new, and we'll be hoping to build on that win against West Ham in the first game of the season. We're going to be talking about fantasy football in just a little moment. Not that I want to, because guess who's second from bottom? This guy. But before that, let me just recap our starting 11. This is the team chosen by Pep Guardiola to take on Bournemouth. In goal, Ederson. We have a back four of Kyle Walker, Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake and João Cancelo. A middle three, exact same against West Ham, Rodrigo, De Bruyne and Ilkay Gundogan. The only change from that win against West Ham is Riyad Mahrez comes in for Grealish, Phil Foden and the main man, Erling Haaland, starts up front after that brace. Now, he is my captain this week, so I'm going to be hoping for... You find that funny, Johnny? No?
I can't believe it wasn't your captain last week.
I can't talk about last week, all right? Listen, Shaun Goater didn't choose a captain and he still got more points than me. That's where I'm at, Joleon, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that won't last.
But let's do a focus then on Haaland watch. Shaun, I'm going to begin with you. There was a lot of talk after that Community Shield game, and then that performance against West Ham, the penalty, then of course the second goal. How good was that as a first performance in the Premier League?
It's massive. It's a statement performance for me. I think the way he performed in that now got managers and teams defending differently to prevent it. I think in general there was all that talk after the Liverpool game, but I didn't really care too much about it because when I watched the game, I paid more attention to what the runs he was actually making.
Yes.
That's the thing, yeah.
And that's what people didn't see. They just looked at the chances he's missed and how little he was involved in the game. But they didn't realise, I think he made nearly 10 to 15 runs.
Yeah.
Just little runs in behind. And if one of those balls, like the ball Kevin tried to play through to him that got blocked out, he most probably scores in that Liverpool game.
Yeah.
The game's completely different. So the part that I enjoyed most is how the transition worked from the Liverpool game to the West Ham game, how it just all just joined together, like if that was just a bad day in the office and they've just been playing together
all the time
for a whole time. So it's great to see how quick it's turned around.
We'll begin the penalty first and foremost. As he stepped up, I thought, don't give him the City curse. Don't miss your first penalty. They tucked it away.
That was never in doubt.
But Pep made the point as well that he, the whole thing of picking up the ball and taking ownership, and there's pressure there. You're stepping up there. But the penalty itself, Joleon, I mean, you can't.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Like, he seems like someone that enjoys that pressure. Like, wants it. Like, I think this team hasn't got like any egos.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the one you need.
Yes.
That wants to be the guy.
Yes.
And I'm looking forward to when it gets to the business end of the season. He's like, I want to be the man of the match.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone particularly wants to be man of the match. They'll have it if it means them playing well and scoring 2 goals, getting assists in terms of Kevin or Bernardo, Riyad. But I'm thinking he's looking at himself in the mirror before he goes outside saying, I'm going to be the deciding factor to this game today. And that is what I think is needed, especially in the business end of the season.
Yeah, and I guess maybe because you are right, and I think as we know, I think we were speaking about this in pre-season, I don't think City sign idiots, City also look at who they are as people, and it's not an arrogance, but it's almost
belief.
Like
it's just belief.
Yeah.
Like, when we've worked with some of the best, and I've spoken to people that have worked with the best, and people like Ronaldo have that belief of they are going to be the deciding factor in the game. So it's a common denominator between world-class players and top players. They want it.
Yes.
They enjoy that and embrace that level of pressure and want the outcomes. We've seen it with Zlatan. It reminds me of that. Will say things before the outcomes come.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing their moments. Like Shaun said, I think everyone after the Charity Shield was analysing the outcomes rather than the decisions. Like he was making all the right runs. The techniques he was using were fine. Just the outcomes weren't right. But all of a sudden, when he gets him right, which he will more often than not, you'll see that. You'll see goals.
And let me tell you as well, in that Community Shield, he bullied Van Dijk a couple of times as well, as much as people didn't want to point that one out.
Bully Ruben here in the Champions League. That was when I thought, he's got that. He'll be fine in the Premier League. He'll be fine.
How Shaun then do City play to his strengths? What can City be doing to make sure that we do get the best out of Erling Haaland?
I think they've already shown it and done it. To be honest with you, West Ham was a perfect example of that. They controlled the game, but in controlling the game, they still was able to create half chances and a lot of full chances for him with crosses, which we're not used to seeing at Man City. The amount of crosses that went in the box, especially in the first half, and that through ball is perfect because that's his bread and butter. That's what he's waiting for. As well as he comes off and retains the ball, he's a striker that loves to be on the shoulder and is always looking to stretch play.
Yeah.
And I think we use that in that West Ham game perfectly, and I think it's just fine tuning.
Yes.
That's all it is. But other than that, they have everything. They seem to have gelled well already, which, like I said, is surprisingly how quick it's happened.
And when you talk about that kind of chemistry, and obviously, I mean, he's been here less than a month though. Do you remember when you say move to Chelsea, when you do move, that it does take time to kind of, you can think what players are thinking or doing before you're around you? Yeah.
100%. I remember coming and then playing with. It was like a couple of years after that David Silva's come, and he used to get mad because I didn't pass him the ball, but he's marked. I'm thinking, that's not normal. Like there, I can't give you that there because that will be the outcome. We might lose it. And he's like, no, this is where I'm most comfortable and this is where I want it. So it takes time to have them discussions and understand that, this is what you do. Like I remember Gayle first come and the way he defended was different to how I'd worked with other fullbacks. I'm saying, well, that's best for you, but it's not best for me. So now we need to adjust to you, and I need to adjust my work.
Yes.
In order to us be a partnership.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you can do what you do, but then if you lose it, then we're exposed.
Yes.
So delay the approach, because you can't run as fast as you can, because I can't match that. So it needs to be a little bit slower in order for me to position myself correctly. So conversations happen, and then understanding because the players' intelligence are high.
That's what, you know, going off that shot, is it then like, would you kind of go aside and you sit and have
funny.
chats, or would you
Just
kind of
sorry
just
to
play?
jump in on Shaun,
No.
The Gale one was against Shaun. So we was playing training pre-season, and it was Shaun and Micah attacking down the right, and they would get the ball kept on going out to Shaun, and Gale was like flying there, and I said, Gale,
That's perfect for me.
yeah,
Somebody comes
you're gonna
up
have to wait because Shaun will go past you anyway.
Yeah.
But I can't, now the space is too big,
Yeah.
and so he did it again, and I'm thinking, you're not getting it. And then Micah's running on the overlap, so he's like, you 2v1, and it's Michael and Shaun, prime. So, good luck.
Good luck. Yeah.
So I purposely left him, and then it was until that when he kind of said, okay, and I said, yeah, now you need to wait, so then I can match you. So now I can match Mika's run. So now you're 1v1, so it's going to be easier for you rather than thinking I need to do Shaun and I need to take Micah. You can't do both of them. So it took me exposing him a little bit to understand, okay, that's how you do it. And he said no one's ever said that to him. He's always been told, get there as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Which is not always the best for the team.
Way. Yeah.
So,
It's fascinating. And then settling into a new team as well, which Haaland is doing, you know, I guess that's also got to be, you know, I think we, as fans or whatever, you expect people just to be coming in and being like, hit the ground. But I guess there's so many factors that come into coming into a new team, isn't there?
Yeah, it definitely does. But I think Joleon would tell me when he first came to City, it was kind of easy because of the type of people that are there. And I feel like this dressing room is pretty similar. Like, they're just warm, happy to see you, so your nerves are automatically gone. They already know what you can do. And I think with terms of like Kevin's played with us not to that level, but he played with Rom, didn't he?
Yes.
Rom plays the same way, effectively. Yeah. He wants to go in behind, but he's just doing it now in a way I could say with a striker. I think he might have more qualities than Rom in and around the box.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's not much difference for him, really.
Seen this second goal here against West Ham. Joleon, if you're one of the Bournemouth centre-halves today, how would you approach defending against Erling Haaland?
When I watched it, now we're going to see defenders get exposed because no one's been making them runs for a long time. Like when we were playing, people like Drogba was making that run.
Yeah.
Bruyne was making them runs. Van Persie, people were making them runs, so you got accustomed to understand. Like Ron was making them runs. Like centre halves, you need to be close. So on paper, when it looks, yeah, we're in a great shape. Like if you look at the first goal, even the second goal, and then look at the back four of West Ham, they're in a good position, but they're not because there's players there.
Yes.
So it needs to look awkward, but it's effective to the opposition. So we need to see centre halves work a lot closer together because at the minute they're putting themselves in good positions on paper, but they're not preventing anything because all of a sudden balls are getting split down the sides and then people can't recover.
Yeah. I've just seen him there. They've all just come back into the tunnel as well. There's something about him. I don't know what it is. It's how I feel about Jack as well. And Phil, I just love him. I love him already. He's got this kind of you can't help but be drawn to him. You know, that kind of presence as well on a pitch, I guess, can't be underestimated when you have got something of that stature and that kind of energy.
It goes back to like what Joel said. Like if you look at the greatest players that we've seen in the last 10 years, your Messis, your Ronaldos, your Benzimas, the list can go on. They have that little arrogance where when they walk on the pitch, in their head, they're going to make something happen. And I don't feel like City have had that out there. Like Kevin will go on and just lead the way, but he hasn't had that the arrogancy side of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The aura.
He wants to be the man.
This is why I celebrate. I'm like, I want to be the man. And I think that is the difference, especially like Champions League, and hopefully is the difference. But I'm just thinking when you get to that stage, like these are all superheroes, like talent-wise and stuff, but you just need that one Avenger.
It takes you on.
Yeah, just goes and be that guy.
Well, we've got him. And he's here for the next 5 years, hopefully, and many, many more. He is starting, by the way, if you've just tuned in. Erling Haaland is on the pitch. It's the same 11 that played against West Ham, bar Mahrez coming in for Grealish. Now, speaking of Haaland, he's my fantasy football captain, so I'm hoping for a hat-trick. Now, if you missed the show last week, we've actually launched a brand new Fantasy Premier League show. We do it once a month, and it's absolutely brilliant, so you can go back and watch that. But if you want to get involved as well, we're all in a league, and you can get involved in that league too. Now, you'll know a friend of the show, Stephen McInerney, I think he's currently at the top if you look at the leaderboard. I'm second from bottom, and Shaun Goater is above me, and he didn't choose a captain, so it's just... I don't really want to talk about my team, quite frankly. Shaun, we'll talk about yours. Who have you gone for captain this week?
I actually put Haaland captain. I had him vice last week. But I like Joleon Salah. That was the thing. Salah was captain.
Oh, you were one of them as well.
But it's like what Joel said though. The West Ham game, I expected it to be way harder and more compact. So although I thought he might score, I didn't think he was going to score 2 goals.
Yeah.
Whereas I thought Liverpool would destroy Fulham and Salah would get something more, but it didn't happen. He got an assist and a goal.
Don't be complaining about the goal and assist on the captain. Do you know what I mean, Joleon?
My team's good. I ain't got no centre backs in there.
Okay.
No centre backs.
Picking fullbacks.
Wow, that's shocking.
Code,
It's clever.
There's no respect.
There's no respect there. There's no
It's
respect
clever.
for the centre half, Shaun.
To be fair, it's the way the them leagues are set up. They don't get rewarded for
That's
being
it. It's a little,
defended.
it's a tricky one because the more you get the assists as
But
well.
it's only the goalie, right? You pick goalie, you get points off saves, so there's no point having like Edison and that. They're making like a third of the saves that.
Yeah, Edison's pointless.
Yeah.
He doesn't make as many
Yeah,
saves.
man,
I actually
so
go
hard.
I actually go for on the keeper front. That's why I try and save money. I'm the keeper. Give me the 2 cheapest keepers in the game, and that's me.
Front bottom.
Yeah, that has to be.
Shots
I've got
fired.
a decent keeper. Got good fullbacks in them.
Who you got?
Reece James. No,
Yeah.
Trent's not in it. He's too expensive.
I've got Trent.
Trippier. And Cucurella's on my bench, and Cancelo.
Yeah.
And then my midfield, I got Neto,
You just got pure
Coutinho,
attacking players.
Salah.
Points. Yeah.
I can't remember the other one. And then I've got Jesus and Haaland up front.
Yeah, Jesus as well.
Yes.
I mean,
It's a nice team.
obviously you're
It's
in it
balanced.
as well, Joleon. You happy with
Yeah.
You happy with your team?
I'm above you, so I'm all right. I'm all right.
If you was to go, we're looking at the Premier League fixtures this weekend. Who would you earmark as a? I mean, it's too late now, but who is a player that you think maybe you could look at getting in your team if you're not in already? Who do you think is
In the team.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Callum Wilson. You know, I just think he's gonna sneaky, just for them sneaky ones just for points that no one else gets.
Yes, yeah.
The people don't, them ones there, you know, them sneaky little ones.
Yeah. What about
no
yours,
one's picking
Shaun?
him. No one's picking him. You're gonna
Shaun,
pick it. You're gonna watch him. Go on.
them for our friends watching.
Now what? Mahrez. I've been watching. Because he looks like the way the passes he was playing, he looked like he's going to get a lot of assists and the odd goal.
Thanks, Shaun.
There we have it. Well, listen, there's 2 tips from the gents in the studio. But as I say, please get involved with our City League. We're all in it. We've all got teams, and of course, it's just great. And also, they're giving out a prize every month as well, so you can get involved with that. The little code, I think, will pop up on screen, and that's how you can get involved. Or if you just go on the Manchester City website, there's some details on there. Right, Joleon, you're in American for the pre-season tour. Do you want to give us a little intro into this little bit? We're going to see someone got involved with a little bit of UFC. Did a bit of training in the gym? Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
To be fair,
Yeah.
It was pretty impressive. Me, joking. Talk to it like a doctor. What I mean? Nah,
So for
I'm a loving
context
that fighter. But no, we worked with a UFC fighter who's a vigilante. That was the most impressive thing. Not that he could actually fight, is that he learnt martial arts, so he could. I can say this because it's already been documented. So he could beat up the drug dealers in his area.
No way.
When he was like 15, 16. But he's took that step further, so he's literally gone into. He's seen a carjacking, so he chased the man down in his car and held him till the police come. He was in the shopping centre. He chased another guy down that stole some perfume and held him down. And the craziest one, he was out having dinner, and a guy's come into the restaurant with a gun, and he's took him down.
What?
That's
Exactly.
insane.
I said, "What was you thinking?" He said, "I just wasn't really thinking." I was like, "What?"
Yeah, that's insane.
Just held him.
Wow.
Just out here taking people down.
Well, should we take a little look at Kevin Holland? It's Kevin Holland, so let's take a look how Joleon got on when he teamed up and did a little bit of training with this man, the vigilante. I mean, a real flipping life hero. A real life hero, Kevin Holland and Joleon. Lescott.
1. Good, again.
So before the big fight in Abu Dhabi, I'm over in Houston, Texas with Kevin Holland to find out what it takes to be an MMA fighter.
Want to give it a workout?
Yeah, man, let's try it. Well, take it easy on me, man.
I got you.
Fragile.
Remember, it's 2 knees. So I knee, kick, knee, and then I can come down. Nice. All right, cool. You got those kicks down bad.
So in regards to the growth as well, like obviously Abu Dhabi now, hold events and that. Have you been to one of them? Is that the goal or?
When I see the events that happen out there, they're crazy. They're
Yeah.
crazy good. And some of the arenas out there look so nice. 2, 3, 2. Leg kick. Good, another one. Good, another one. Good, another one. Good. 1. Push kick. Aye, hands up. Push kick. Aye. Time. Woo. Good job.
Yeah, man.
You did really good. Yeah. That was easy, right?
So, what are you saying now? You're going to be the real life hero in the Etihad Stadium?
No, I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Have you ever done any of the martial arts or anything? Have you ever got involved in that?
No, it's not for me.
He's a lover as well.
Yeah, I'm not interested in fighting. I only fight if I have to, and that's very rarely. So I'm going to leave it as it is. I leave that to Joel.
When, and just tell us quickly, Joleon, because you were out there with the team as well. I mean, we were linking up with you a little bit while we were out there, of course, because we were bringing you Matchday live for the pre-season. How was it over on the pre-season
nice
tour?
to be on tour and not have to train. It was beautiful. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I could do it again. I could do that again. Yeah, it was different. So yeah, no, it was real nice. Like watching the lads and obviously then seeing it and but seeing what goes on. Obviously, it's different to when we was here. Like the club's a lot different now commercially, but it's a lot of hard work that goes on. To be fair.
Yeah.
But they enjoy it. I'll say that politely. They earn their rest and recovery. But no, it's a lot of hard work and it's enjoyable.
Yeah, love it. And Shaun, do you have a pre-season tour that sticks out to you? Was there ever one that you go, oh, that was a great one?
Do you know, just all of them, because that's that time you can't buy with a team, like that bonding time. Like there's none of our families are involved. It's just you hanging out, having lunch together, training together. You get to know each other properly. Yeah. So it always helps.
Yeah, and is there a good bond out there? Is there a good bond between the squad, Joleon?
Yeah. That's said. Like Shaun said, it seems like Erling had been there. He wasn't new.
Yeah.
Like Calvin, I spoke to him and he just had a smile on his face the whole time. But
Yeah.
He's seen like the lads took to him easily. Obviously, he knows a few from England, so that helps. But in regards to the squad dynamics, it just seemed like they'd all been together for so long. There's nothing that you would expect.
Yeah, magic. And I think we can see it on the pitch though as well, doesn't it? Well, listen, not long to go now. Alistair Mann and Shaun Goater have got your commentary, so if you go onto the City app, that's where you can listen to them two talk you through the game, of course, and as well. On there, you can also check out City Plus as well. Don't forget, we've got that amazing documentary, an episode coming out every week, Together, Champions Again. It is an absolutely brilliant piece of work from all the City team behind the scenes as well, so well worth watching. You can hear that the atmosphere is building. The announcement of the team is coming out, so the only thing left for us to do on Matchday Live, and don't forget, we'll be back at half-time, then at full-time, is predictions from our legends in the studio. Joleon and Shaun, who do I want to come to first? Joleon's ready there? What's your prediction?
I'm going to say 2-0.
2-0.
Yeah, a convincing one, similar to last week, more dominant in terms of possession, but yeah, I don't think Bournemouth will come out for it to be open.
Haaland goal?
No.
No.
I'm going to say
Hey, he's
Riyad.
in my fantasy team.
Come
Can you just
on,
say yes?
Joleon!
I'm going to go against the grain and say no. I'm going to say Riyad and Phil Foden.
Love that from you, Joleon.
Phil's still my guy, man. Phil's my guy.
Phil
That's
is the
my
man.
guy, man.
Phil is the man.
I'm saying
guy.
3-0, so I can get one Haaland in there.
Yeah.
As well.
So 3-0 from you, Shaun.
Yeah.
Just for that reason alone.
There we go. Well, listen, I love all the City team. You know that. And I bloody love you. Thank you for watching. So we'll be back at half-time. We'll be back at full-time. And all that's left for me to say is come on, City.